Universus, the IP-based fighting game-inspired TCG. The battleground for My Hero Academia, Street Fighter, King of Fighters, Yu Yu Hakusho, and many more. With a game that focuses on so many franchises, speculation is bound to happen on which series is next to stand in the spotlight. While the IP Dreams channel on the official Discord server is full of people sharing their wishes, I decided to make mine into something more visual. Before you, I present 3 franchises that I consider my dream IPs to have in Universus. But before that, let's go over my thought process and rules for each of them. 1. I've set myself a limit of 1 franchise per medium, 1 video game, 1 anime, 1 live action. While Universus hasn't delved too much into live action franchises, though one could argue both Godzilla and even Critical Role could count towards this, I feel like my pick for it will make sense when we get to it. 2. The franchises have to be at least somewhat well known. If I were to want any of these ideas to actually come to fruition, it'd have to align with decisions that UVS Games would make when it comes to picking out what sets they want to make. Meaning they're going to have to pick something that's somewhat popular and would sell. So gone are my dreams of a time splitters set, but alas. 3. They can't have an existing more popular singular IP card game. Due to the nature of card games, anything that even has the smallest fan base get a card game, so I can't rule out everything that has a TCG, otherwise there'd be nothing less. Also, during this video scripting, I found out Union Arena exists, which does impact one of my picks, hence why there's the singular IP caveat. 4. Each franchise must add a new mechanic or idea which represents them as best as possible. Though creative liberties will be taken and not entirely fleshed out in this video because I'm not a game designer. 5. No repeat franchises. As much as I'd love a My Hero Academia Vigilantes Challenger series, a return to Red Horizon, or even a new Mega Man set, I'm solely focusing on new properties. Maybe I'll do a follow-up conceptualizing what ones I'd love to come back instead. With that being said, let's get into my first pick. It's absolutely crazy to me that a franchise as big as Dead or Alive hasn't had a single card in Universus yet. When I think of fighting games, Dead or Alive comes to mind before King of Fighters and Guilty Gear. While it's known for its more visual aspects as opposed to the gameplay, I still think there's elements in this game which could add something to Universus. Dead or Alive works on a triangle system of strikes, throws and holds, and I felt like there wasn't any way I could implement this trio of new cards without it being convoluted busywork. It seemed like I have to revamp the entire approach to how zones and blocking works in this game just to add them. But then it hit me. Strikes are just punches and kicks, and throws already exist in the game. All I would need to do is add holds for the trio to be complete. The way I would conceptualize holds would be almost an antithesis to throws. If an attack is blocked by a hold card while being off zone, it would count as fully blocked as opposed to being half blocked. Think of it working like Protector of Life or countering toss. However, if a throw attack is blocked by a hold card, it will deal full damage instead. While it's a simple ability, I feel like it adds enough to shake up how people build their decks and gives additional defensive options. As for additional mechanics, no Dead or Alive set would be complete without a break gauge. These would be character specific abilities with counters that tick up for every hit and or blocked attack, expending a counter for a little extra bonus that varies from character to character. Speaking of characters, let's go over the characters I'd include. I didn't outline these in the rules, but I'm going off the assumption that these would be entire sets and not just Challenger series or Clash decks, so I'm aiming between 15 to 20 characters per franchise. I won't give full explanations for each character as I'd hope most would be self-explanatory, but for the more out-of-pocket picks, I'll be sure to give my justifications for them. While there aren't any notable exclusions or unusual picks for this franchise at least, the hardest part was trying to find a balance between men and women characters, given how loaded the games are with the latter. Overall, I feel like this spread of characters would best represent the franchise, but if I'm wrong, be sure to shout at me in the comments. But with Dead or Alive done, let's move on to our next. This was a hard pick. Finding an anime that didn't have a massive card game already, an anime that's popular enough to get a whole set dedicated to it, but not only that, it'd have to be a series that has significant meaning to me. I considered Evangelion, the anime that resonated with me the most, but then I thought no, that's not enough, I need to think bigger. Then my mind went to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but inversely, that's far too grand to fit in this video. That'd be something that would need its own separate video to cover. But then a memory came to me. 14-year-old me in my school's library, scanning through all the shelves, and picking up my first ever manga, the first story that convinced me to give anime a try. A little known title by the name of one of the big 3. an anime once left unfinished and dormant for many years until Thousand Year Blood War got adapted, and it reminded people why it stood amongst the giants of One Piece and Naruto. I could spend ages gushing about this series, but that's not why we're here. You want to see me put Ichigo in this silly little card game, so here goes. Now, there's going to be a lot of ground to cover, but I'll try and get through it as swiftly as possible. As opposed to the simple universal abilities that I made for Dead or Alive, Bleach is going to be a bit more, well, more. We'd have different character traits, and semi-spoilers for the character picks and in turn potential spoilers for the series. And they'd be the following: Shinigami, Hollows, and Arrancar. Anyone who's familiar with Bleach might be saying, what about Quincy's? And to that I say, Thousand Year Blood War can be its own separate set, we've got so much going on already. Ideally, I'd love to run this like My Hero Academia, with a set per arc or two, but then we'd be locked into Bleach for several years. And given how My Hero Academia and Attack on Titan were received when they did that, let's not. But that aside, each of these three different factions would have their own mechanics. Shinigamis would have their Zanpakutos as their core abilities, working similarly to Sung Jinwoo's skill tree and having to gain more experience with their weapon to unlock each of the weapon's tiers. Each Shinigami would also have their respective Zanpakutos as assets to synergize with their character's abilities. Hollows would function almost like a tribal playstyle, where building a foundation base of Hollows can be sacrificed to evolve your Hollow character, flipping the card to transform it. And finally, Arrancar would play somewhat similarly to Titans in Attack on Titan, being able to shift into their resurrection forms, but for balancing reasons, when they would be able to shift would be restricted either by a health requirement or an unlock requirement. As for characters, we're going to have to get real selective. I think this selection of characters allows for quite a diverse set of characters and abilities, giving each new archetype a fairly equal number of characters as well. But I think if this was a franchise chosen to have a set in this game, it would be big enough to have multiple, and therefore giving a chance for excluded characters to shine. Now, for the whole reason I made this video, there is a franchise out there that I think would be absolutely perfect for Universus, and it's genuinely shocking that we've received nothing from it. It's baffling that Power Rangers has not been an IP for Universus, the action franchise of the 90s and 2000s. Filled with an expansive list of memorable characters and villains, this series is just ripe. I think the only reason it hasn't gotten a set sooner is purely down to how the franchise is in a bit of a lull right now, with Cosmic Fury being the end of the Western series back in 2023, and Super Sentai having aired its official final season earlier this year. But I don't think that could stop UVS games at all. Having IPs from dormant or past franchises like Cowboy Bebop, Yu Yu Hakusho, and soon Fairy Tail, it hasn't been an issue before, so I think a franchise this size, it's fine. Now, to me, Power Rangers has to have two elements: cool ass weapons and Megazords. For the former, that's easy. Each Power Ranger, you give them their own weapon in the form of an asset. They won't be too crazy, likely just giving support for the playstyle of that specific character. Now, Zording, there's the real struggle. There's many ways you can do this, each with their own pros and cons, so I'm just gonna fire them off real quick. 1. Have it work like Attack on Titan shifting, letting each character transform into a Megazord after an unlock requirement. 2. Building each part of the Zords as backups, eventually sacrificing 5 uniquely named Zords in order to build a Megazord asset. 3. Bringing back building characters on your stage and having it work similar to Heidi from Red Horizon, but transforming your character once 5 Ranger characters are stacked. 4. Something to do with tokens, given how much recent sets have been pushing for them. Maybe making it so that you generate Zord tokens on hit that fizzle at the end of your turn, and so you need to hit 5 times in a turn to generate them and then transforming them into the Megazord. I don't know. Personally, I'm more of a fan of the second option, making it a risk-reward system of having your Zords be killable, but once you manage to build them all, it pays off nicely. Though if this was to be a set, it'd likely be the first or the fourth option that they'd go for. Now, as for characters, this is where it gets fun. For this video, I'm sticking to mostly Mighty Morphing due to that being the most popular incarnation of the Rangers. However, I'll throw in a few other characters from other series for fun. Because of how expansive this franchise is, I can just see many different sets for the eras of the show. My real dream for this set is to have Power Rangers as the base set, but then Super Sentai Alt Arts. Give me my Battle Fever J Rangers and my life is yours. I think most of these are also fairly self-explanatory. Main cast from Mighty Morphin and their villains. Ivan Ooze is a really silly addition, but I have a soft spot for that film. Doggy Kruger is such a weird but iconic addition to SPD that it would feel wrong not to have him. Bulk and Skull as a duo character being a joke inclusion because every fighting game has to have one. Dino Thunder's White Ranger being a top tier design but also a beloved character. Void Knight, I just like his costume. And Divatox is just a fantastic villain. So yeah, that's my picks for IPs I'd love to see in Universus. Do you agree? Disagree? Have picks of your own? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I still don't know how to end videos. Bye.